Hey everybody, I figured I'd talk about free-to-plays and kickstarters today and the dangers of spending too much money on these projects. You definitely got to be careful when you're looking into this stuff, because unfortunately we live in a day and age where I would say 7 times out of 10 these projects tend to fail, these games tend to fail and not reach their peak performance or what they were intended to be at all. Or you'll spend money on these games and the companies that are running them will just decide to just shut them down for one reason or another, whether it's because the game was dying or people were losing interest or they were losing the player base, or they just decided that the game had gone on long enough and it's time to move on to something else. You really don't want to put yourself in a predicament like that where you spend a ton of money and then you get nothing out of it. I guess I'll provide some personal examples that I've experienced. The first, I'll bring up 2 examples. I have Dust 514, a first-person shooter that was supposed to be an MMO that was also meant to connect to another MMO called EVE Online, and a game called Eternal Crusade, based on the Warhammer 40,000 IP, that was also supposed to be an MMO. It ended up not being an MMO, and it was a lobby shooter instead. Neither of these projects reached their intended goal, and again, one, Dust 514, ended up being shut down, and the other, it's been 4 years and it's pretty much a dead project. No one's working on the game. No one's adding anything to it. Definitely when it comes to these Kickstarter games, these free-to-plays, it doesn't matter how good the company is or how good the track record could be. You always have to understand that you're taking a risk, and you need to calculate how much money you're willing to spend on these games and if it's even worth it. I would definitely recommend spending the bare minimum no matter what. Even if the person you want to fund is, they've succeeded. Maybe they've succeeded every single time they've done a project. Just spend the bare minimum, so you know what, God forbid, if the project fails, you know what, it doesn't hurt. When it comes to Dust 514, I was a kid at the time, so obviously you don't have a lot of money. At least in my case, I wasn't really allowed to spend it anyway. So I think I only spent about $20 on the game, which ended up being to my favor because, again, the game got shut down and I got nothing out of it. They told people they would be able to keep their accounts and it would go to another project, but that never happened. And for Eternal Crusade, I decided to make the really, really stupid choice of spending $250 on it. But that's nothing compared to the poor people who spent thousands of dollars on the game and got all their friends in on it too. So yeah, you can only imagine how they felt. So definitely people, regardless of what the project is, right? I gave video game examples, but it could be anything. Tabletop, books, animations, and we can go outside of that too. You got people making, doing independent designs for like cooking stuff or industrial stuff, farming equipment. There's all kinds of stuff out there. So regardless of what it is, definitely only invest the bare minimum to the project. And also look at the person's track record. Look at what they had done before. I mean, the guys who worked on Dust 514, they were making kids games before that. So that right there should have told you what was going to happen. And then to make things worse, one of the guys who worked on Dust 514, right, that game failed, it died, he also worked on Eternal Crusade. I looked this stuff up too late, and that right there was a red flag. So that alone should have told me, along with all the people around me who told me it was just a bad idea in general to spend that kind of money, that you got somebody who was on one failed project, and now they're on another project, and they don't have a proven track record. Unfortunately, nothing good is going to come from that. But again, you know what? Just spend the bare minimum, because you never know. The project just might succeed, and you might get something like Shovel Knights, or what is that game called? Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, I believe it is. Yeah, you know, every once in a while you get games like Shovel Knight and Bloodstained, but for the most part, you end up with garbage most of the time. With that being said, I figure, you know what, I'll address the other side of the coin then, right? I spoke about, right, customers and gamers. To those of you people out there that are, you know what, that you want to create stuff, you want to get into making games and Kickstarters and GoFundMes and all that, please, please, please do not bite off more than you could chew. Make your projects a reasonable size that you know you can complete. Because if you go for something that's too big, you know, Eternal Crusade, or even, you know, we could give Mighty Number 9 as an example. I'm not sure why that game turned out the way it did. You know, you had people who worked on Megaman working on that. That shouldn't have happened, but you know what? Hey, it did. I hope wherever, you know, the people who made that, wherever they are, I hope they can recover from that and they've learned from their errors. And you know what? Maybe they could go and make a good game. But other than that, just please, please make your project a reasonable size. Make sure you can meet the customer's expectation, you know, or even surpass it if you can. So you know what, they'll come back and they'll want more and they'll want to give you more money, and you could build up some good rep. Because you know what, if you go for a project that's too big, you know, regardless of what you tell your customers, you know, whether it's life or something came up, whatever the reason may be, they're not going to want to hear it, and they're going to be really upset. They're going to be unhappy. They're going to feel betrayed. You're going to be unhappy. You're going to be upset with yourself that you failed. And you know what? People might not come back, and you don't want that. So definitely, to you creators out there, please, please, I want you to succeed. You know, I want your stuff out there, man. You know, I want to see a lot of, you know, independent creators out there. You know, in a world of making everything corporate, that's really what we need right now. And you know what? I guess I'll end it here. Stay safe, and God bless you all.